Welcome back. In this episode of the Weekly Hustle, I'm going to be answering questions. I'm going to be talking about unsupportive friends and family. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. I'm Kevin. If you're new to the Weekly Hustle, this is a weekly series, my podcast, where I essentially do two things. I help share cool people, processes, tools, ideas for entrepreneurial hustlers who want to be great, not just good, but great, and focus on mastery. I also document my process of hitting my personal goal of $10 million. $10 million, if you're wondering where I got it from, essentially that's $100K per year. So I think me and my family will be pretty set on that. So if you want to shoot me a question, just shoot me a question at subscribers@refugeehustle.com. And also, if you want to stay tuned, have a more personal connection, I'd love for you to go to refugeehustle.com/join, just so that I can send you my best articles, best tips, and all the show notes that I typically do on here. So let's kind of dive into it. How do you deal with unsupportive friends and family? So have you ever had this amazing business idea or amazing goal that means a lot to you? You pour your blood, sweat, and tears in it, and years in it as well. But on the back end, you have unsupportive friends and family. You know, I remember back when my father passed away, I actually made the decision to leave pharmacy to start up an online business. I wasn't quite sure what type of online business. Maybe it was going to be in the course space or something, but I knew that I was just so unhappy with pharmacy. In fact, I spent 12 years in pharmacy and I was just tired of the BS. People always said, hey, it'll get better. But in fact, it got worse and worse every single year. And so most importantly, during that time, I was going on interviews with different pharmacy companies. I even landed one of my dream jobs in pharmacy. But when I was in the interview, I just wasn't happy. It just didn't feel right. And at that point, I was ready to make a change. I remember during that time, a few people actually messaged me to just like, hey, Kevin, quit the online business space, quit starting your own business. And I remember getting comments like saying, hey, you're making a huge mistake. You need to go back to pharmacy for something more stable. And the truth is, when people ask you these things or tell you these things, they're not in your situation. They don't understand. They're not the ones that are paying for those consequences, right, of those decisions. So as someone who has been through it, family is even tougher, right? You might even have questions like, hey, if you have unsupportive friends or family, do you stop talking to them? Do you sit them down? How do you deal with it? And actually, recently, one of my readers, David, wanted to start a career in digital marketing, but he was struggling with dealing with his unsupportive best friend. And I kind of want to read out this email that he sent me. Hi, Kevin. How do I deal with toxic friends? Some days ago, I told my best friend that I'm taking an online SEO course so I could hopefully land a digital marketing job. And she laughed at me and told me that I'm immature for thinking that I'm able to land a skilled, well-paying job without a degree, just taking a cheap online course. She said things like, be real, grow up, and shit like that. I felt offended. We argued. This really pissed me off so much. What should I do? Should I stop talking to her anymore? And David, I totally feel your pain, but before we dive into the answer, quick pause. I want to ask you guys watching this video, go below in the comments. What do you think David should do? I would love to kind of hear your comments below. And if there's any insightful comments, I'll shout them out in the next video. But back to the answer. Here's the truth. It's not easy dealing with any sort of criticism, especially if it's from your friends and family, especially if they don't believe in you. And trust me, I have a lot of friends. I had a lot of friends that probably still don't believe in me, still probably think I'm crazy. But what do you do? And let's take a step back because, you know, if it was an easy conversation, we probably would have had it. So first of all, what makes this conversation so difficult? And the truth is, this isn't an anonymous troll that is criticizing you. You're not getting dislike bot through YouTube or whatever. It's someone who you actually care about. And in your case, David, it's your best friend. So how do you go ahead having this conversation? So there's pretty much three things that you need to figure out. One, do you even want to have this conversation? Second thing, if you do have the conversation, what is the objective or what do you want out of this conversation? And three, if you're going to have the conversation, how do you actually have it? How do you position yourself where you're not coming off as like super sensitive, but also, you know, enrich the relationship as well? So let's break each one of these down. All right. So first thing, do you even want to have this conversation? So there's really essentially two options. You could just say nothing, fire a friend, move on, find new friends. That's one way to go about it. But the second thing that you can do is talk to your friend. And my personal recommendation is always talk to your friend. Why would I suggest that? Why would I suggest go the harder route? Because here's the truth. Difficult conversations builds character, builds grit. It actually forces you to be a better business owner or better, in your case, a freelancer or better with clients as well. And your everyday relationship. It forces you to become a better listener, build thicker skin, and demonstrate to your friend that you actually care about your friendship. It shows by risking it all, it actually invests, like it shows that you're willing to invest the time to fix any problems that you have, right? Because if you didn't care, then you just walk away. But chances are, David, you probably do care. But despite the benefits, it's still hard, right? So the truth is conflict management and communication is tough, especially with friends. And if you don't position the conversation right, you could actually lose and ruin relationships. You know, in my past, I've actually had best friends and I've had natural falling outs with them. It happens from time to time as well. But obviously through those conversations, I learned how to have better conversations going forward. But obviously, David, it's your choice. I would highly recommend if you're trying to go into the digital marketing realm, whether it's working for a company, your company is technically your client if you think about it, right? So whether you want to work with clients or maybe even start your own businesses, difficult conversations are a natural part and an essential part of doing business. You need to learn how to set boundaries as well. Second thing, what do you want out of this conversation, or what do you want from this conversation? Before you start any conversation, you need to know exactly what you want from it. So what do you want, David? What do you want out of this conversation? The truth is, if your goal is really to focus on turning your best friend into a raving fan, your biggest supporter, or to change your mind, that's going to be very, very difficult to do. Not impossible, but very difficult to do, because the truth is, you can't force people to support you. My recommendation for you, the goal should be really to understand their perspective and set boundaries for your friendship by communicating how you felt about what they said, right? And most importantly, in order to do that, you need to understand where they're coming from. Notice that goal, right, is not based, I think it's an internal locus of control in psychology, meaning like the responsibility falls on you. These are things that you can control, not external factors as well. So, like I said, the key is to choose things that you control, not them. So, in an ideal world, what we're looking for, we're looking for unconditional support. You're looking for that down ass homie, that ride or die friend that will always be there. But the truth is, this is life. And if your friends can't provide it, then it's our responsibility to look somewhere else and let our friends be our friends. And the truth is, like for myself, I have a lot of different friends. I have friends who are not interested in business whatsoever, but we get along, right? You might have seen her in some of my videos, but like Sylvia, for example, right? We have nothing in common. She's not business related, but we just enjoy each other's company. Same with a lot of different friends, even though most of my friends these days are more entrepreneurial like as well, like my new friends. Don't forget, you're not given like a set amount of friends in your lifetime. Your friendships will grow, they will change, and honestly for the better. And I feel like my friendships as I get older, because I'm 32 right now, they've gotten better over the years. And also realize, just because someone doesn't agree or support your view doesn't make them a toxic friend. Maybe the delivery is off and stuff, but that doesn't always necessarily make them a toxic friend as well. So just be careful about using that word sometimes. I know some people are so easy to label like toxic people, right? But we got to separate the person from their actual actions. Maybe in that moment, they said some fucked up shit. That doesn't make them a toxic friend. But anyways, just to recap what I was saying, as someone who has a variety of friends, the truth is your friendships will shift as your goals shift, right? Second thing is that some friends, like I said, will be your business friends. Others, you'll just enjoy your company. There's nothing wrong with that. And the third thing is, not all your friends will have the same views as you do, right? So basically what I'm saying is identify what you want from this conversation. And what I'm suggesting is just take a step back, understand where they're coming from, and then also communicate how you feel as well and what you want going forward to kind of set that boundary. And which leads me to the next point is, how do you actually have this difficult conversation? So now that you know what you want, how do you have this conversation? So it's all about understanding where they're coming first, or where they're coming from, feeling them out, getting to understand their perspective. There's a book called Never Split the Difference. This is one of my favorite books, and it talks about using something called tactical empathy, where in order to influence, or in order to understand, to have an effective conversation, you need to use something called tactical empathy. So you need to understand where they're coming from, feeling them out, and getting them to understand your perspective by listening to them first. So here's a step-by-step of, I guess, the step-by-step script of how to have the conversation. I will have the show notes in the link below as well on the Refugee Hustle website. But this is a eight step way to kind of have the conversation. So the first thing that you're going to be doing is start off the conversation. Be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I just have something to get off my chest. Is that okay with you? Do you have a chance to talk? Right? So preferably, what you don't want to do is chat via text. I mean, I made this mistake. Sometimes the other person won't want to get in, like, talk to you face to face or on the phone or video chat, right? Like, you want to be in person or on video chat, or like something, or even telephone's better than text, because at least you can understand the tonality, right? You can say, there's this thing that we have in the US, which we call sarcasm, right? Like, you can say something with a total different tonality and it can mean a different thing. So what you want to do is understand, it'll give you a better understanding. And there, if you're, dude, we're all in the age of smartphones. We've all sent those texts where there was miscommunication. So there's that, right? We want to eliminate that out the door. Second thing I would recommend is, like, once you get them in person, available chat, call it the elephant in the room. So one of the ways that I like to do it is, like, so we had the argument a few days ago about the whole SEO course and digital marketing course. And honestly, it's just really been bothering me, since I really do care about our friendship, right? So you're kind of calling out the elephant in a room, kind of like almost, letting them know that this has been bothering you too. Third thing you want to do is set the agenda or intention of why you want to talk. So an easy way to do this is like, hey, we've been friends for X amount of years now. So I just want to clear the air, take the time to understand where you're coming from. Does that sound fair? This is one of my favorite phrases. Does that sound fair? Because if you're letting them go first, it's always going to sound fair. So chances are they're going to say yes. If they're like, no, then you need new friends. They're unreasonable, man. Fourth thing that you want to do, understand their perspective, right? So I know you're a good person. We've been good friends for a while. So I love to take the time to understand where you're coming from, blah, 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 and be honest with me. I won't get mad at you. That last part, so important, because what you don't want is, you have to, and this is where you got to check out your ego. Not everybody's mature enough to do this. It's really, really hard. Even sometimes, like for me, like if you get in a heated argument and stuff, like just sit back, listen, just try to take it in, just understand. And one of the things that I love to do, and that leads me to my next step, is don't interrupt them, listen to them, even if it sucks hearing it as well. And, this is the important part, because otherwise, if you say all this sort of stuff and you go back on your word, you cut them off, you yell back at them, it's not going to work. Take some time. Take some time just to sit back, listen to them, take notes or take mental notes. It's kind of weird if you're like with a friend taking notes, but if you want to do it, go ahead. But also during the conversation, this is step 6, is repeat back. So like, it sounds like from your perspective, you're saying it's like XYZ. Does that sound about right? Just kind of verify with them during the whole thing as well, right? Don't accuse them of anything. Just like take it in. And once they're kind of done, just be like, hey, thanks. I appreciate you being real and honest with me. And just be like, hey, I just want to give you perspective of how I'm feeling, right? So the other day I felt disappointed because I was hoping to get support when I mentioned that I was taking a course to land a digital marketing job. This means a lot to me because of XYZ. And even if you don't agree with me, can you at least understand where I'm coming from, right? So it's getting them to kind of empathize with you. And then last thing that I love saying is like, hey, thanks, blah, blah, blah. The reason why wanted to go to you because I care about our friendship. It's not an easy career. No pressure. It'd mean a lot if I could get your support. If not, totally cool. And we just won't talk about it again. Sound like a plan? Well, how do you feel about that? Right. And then what I like to do is I always hug out things. I'm a hugger, man. Hug or not. That's essentially how I de-escalate my situations in life. I think it's really important to learn the skill. And here's the biggest takeaway that I want you to walk away from. The truth is, this conversation could go really well or shit the bed. But the one thing that you will absolutely find out and test is your friendship with your real friends. I've had some of my best friends at the time not want to put in the effort anymore, which is totally cool. You can't force someone to do something that they don't want to. But difficult conversations are the true strength and are essential for any long-term relationship. And that's the true test for any relationship. Like if you talk to married couples, platonic relationship or like romantic relationships, doesn't matter. Their fights are going to happen. It just happens, right? But you got to realize that even if it does not work out, the truth is that you will probably find friends that will actually get it and who will actually support you too. So don't fret, don't worry about this, and you'll build that muscle of difficult conversations as well. All right. So I would love to kind of hear your thoughts about this approach. How would you guys listening actually handle this differently? I'd love to kind of hear from you guys.